Hi, this is Mrs. Moan. We are working on target number 9, solving equations. You will need a piece of paper out to take notes and also to do 8 problems. We're going to go through 8 example problems to do, and you should be writing all of those down. So, first thing, you need to write down what the steps are to solve equations. There's 4 different steps. To be successful, the first one, you need to isolate the variable. Sometimes we have no idea what that means. So isolate the variable. Another way to say that, get x by itself. Or whatever the variable is, you want it to be all by itself on one side. For example, x equals 5 is perfect because x is all by itself over here. There's nothing else with it. So that's what isolate the variable means. Step number 2. You need to do the inverse operations. When we talk about inverse operations, it really means the opposite operation. You're basically undoing something. For example, if I am adding 5 to the x, to undo it or use the inverse operation, I wouldn't add 5, I would actually subtract 5. So this is the opposite, or the inverse operation. If my problem was x minus 7, the inverse operation wouldn't be minus 7, but it would be adding 7. So that's what inverse operation means. It's basically the opposite. Feel free at any time to pause this if I am talking too fast for you. The third step to solving equations. Oh, sorry, I was going to show you. Here's the inverse operations. If you have add on one of your equations, if you're adding it, the opposite or inverse operation would be to subtract. If you're subtracting, the inverse operation, you probably know, is to add. If you are multiplying and you want to undo multiplication, you need to divide. And last, if you have division in your problem, to be able to solve the equation, you need to multiply. So that's just the way to undo. Good thing to write down though. Third step, you need to make sure you're doing the same thing on both sides. For example, when we used algebra mats and we had our little line down the middle where our equal sign is, if you are going to take away 5 on the left side, you have to make sure you're taking away 5 on this side. Last year you talked about balances, and what you do on one side you do on the other because you always have to keep it balanced. Same thing here. So if I wanted to add 2 on this side, well, you have to then add 2 on the right side. So you always want to keep it balanced. What you do to one side, you do to the other. The fourth step, you just need to make sure you are checking your solution. In this case, the solution means your answer. For example, if you get your answer to be x equals 5, you need to take 5 and substitute it in for x. So instead of x, you're going to have 2 plus 5, and we know 2 plus 5 equals 7. And that's what it should be in my problem. So check, you did it right. You checked your solution. So those are the 4 steps that you have to follow in order to solve equations. So hopefully you have those written down. If not, pause it to finish up, and then we're going to go on to do a problem. So here's our problem number 1. Solve the equation, then check your solution. First thing when you are doing this, I would take the equal sign and hold on here. Draw a line straight down. Rewrite the problem. And if we think back to our first step, isolate the variable. Get x by itself and make sure we're doing the opposite operations. So right now it looks like I am adding 14. So the opposite of adding 14 would be to subtract 14. So make sure you do that on both sides. So over here, 14 minus 14, we get 0, and we still have our x. And anytime you add 0 to something, you just get that number. So x plus 0 is just simply x. Over here on the right, 26 minus 14 is 12. So we know that x equals 12. According to our steps, we need to check our solution. So we take 12, since that's our answer, and we need to substitute it back in here for x. So we do 14 plus 12. That equals 26. And we go back to our problem, and that's what it was supposed to equal. So we put a check next to our answer to show that we checked our solution, and it is right. Next problem, I'd like you to write it down on your paper, and then pause the video, solve it, and when you think you are done and you've checked your solution, hit play to kind of check your steps with what I did. Okay, so m plus 8 equals 29. Draw your line down the equal there. I am adding 8, so the inverse operation of adding is subtracting, so I want to subtract 8, and we need to do that on both sides. 8 minus 8 over here, 8 minus 8 equals 0, and then we have m left over, and m plus 0 is m. Over on the right side, we have 29 minus 8, which equals 21. Now we need to check our solution. So if we think m is 21, we plug it back in right here, and we do 21 plus 8. And I get 29. Look at my answer, that's what it's supposed to be. So I put a check there that shows that I did it right. Hopefully you did good. If not, go back and see where your mistakes are and fix them. Number 3, we'll do this one together. First thing, write your equation down. N minus 7 equals 36. I am subtracting, so the opposite of subtract is add, so I know I'm going to add 7. Do that to both sides. Come over to the left, I am going to do 7, a negative 7 and a plus 7. You can also think of that as 7 minus 7. These also kind of cancel out, it just equals 0. So on our left side we have n left over, and on the right side we do 36 plus 7, and we get 43. Check your solution. So if my answer is 43, I need to plug it back in for n. So we're going to do 43 minus 7. I get 36, so I go back to my problem, and that's correct. So I checked my solution. Number 4, you need to write the problem down, do it yourself, and then pause the video to see how you did with me compared to me. First step, we're solving these algebraically. The opposite of subtracting 12 is to add 12. Oops, sorry, very sloppy. Alright, so on the left side we are left with 8. A positive 12 and a negative 12, they basically cancel each other out. And on this side, we get 38. X equals 38. Check my solution. If x is 38, let's plug it in. So we want 38 minus 12. I get 26. Sweet, that's what it is. So check, that's right. Check your answers over. Number 5, we have something a little different here. We have multiplication going on. Whenever you see a number next to a variable like that, that means 12 times n. If you want to rewrite it as that, so you remember, that is just fine. But that's what that means, 12n. So the opposite of multiplying by 12 is to divide by 12. 12 divided by 12, And then over here, 36 divided by 12. Remember in math, every time you see this little fraction line right here, every fraction line really is a division sign. So you can always think of it as division. So over here, 12 divided by 12 is really 1. So 1 times n. And 1 times any number is that number. So 1 times n is really equal to n. On the right side, 36 divided by 12 equals 3. Check our solution. So we go up here and we have n to be 3. So 12 times 3 equals 36. Is that right? Yep. Woohoo, there we go. Ooh, at the top left side of your paper right now, of your notes, you need to write this word down. Umbrella. Put that at the top left side of your paper. Write it down right now. I'll be checking it tomorrow. All right, number 6, you're doing this one by yourself. So write the problem down, pause the video, and then do it. First thing you want to do, you're multiplying. So the opposite of multiplying is divide. So divide both sides by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1 times n. And 1 times n is the same as n. On this side, 48 divided by 8 is 6. Check our solution. If n equals 6, 8 times 6 is 48, and that is correct. Check. Number 7, something a little different now is a division is in our problem. So what we have is 4 equals n divided by 9. If you want to write it like this, because it's easier for you to think about, that's fine too. The opposite of dividing by 9 is to multiply by 9. So make sure you do that on both sides. And these pretty much cancel each other out, and you are left with n. Because if you do the multiplication, you really end up with 9 over 9, which is the same as 1. And then you're doing 1 times n again. So on the right side, we get n. On the left side, 4 times 9, we get 36. Let's check our answer. 36 would be substituted for n. 36 divided by 9 equals 4. And that's what it is. Last problem is for you to do by yourself, so pause the video and complete it. Okay, we have 12 equals k divided by 4. The opposite of dividing by 4 is to multiply by 4. That's one way you can do it. These pretty much cancel each other out, so you are left with k. 12 times 4 is 48. Check our solution. K is 48. 48 divided by 4 equals 12, and that's my answer. So check, you did it. All right, hopefully you are good on solving equations. Have a great day, and don't forget that word on the top left side of your paper for tomorrow. All right, goodbye.